Let's have a look at the Fuso starting grid for race number 22 from the pole. The 47th of his career, Jamie Whincup, and his 9th this championship season. He'll do it with Scotty McLaughlin equalling his personal best. Fabian Coulthard, Mark Winterbottom, row number 2, positions 3 and 4. Then it's James Courtney and Craig Lowndes. Craig's had more wins here than any other driver in the series. David Reynolds, who's been on fire in recent races together with Shane Van Gisbergen, does all of his testing here. Tim Slade for Erebus Motorsport, nice performance in the Mercedes-Benz. Jason Bright just outside the top 10 together with Alex Davison, followed then by Chaz Mostert, still in the early days of his main game V8 supercar career, with Todd Kelly, who's done a nice job in qualifying to be the best of the Nissans.
Todd Kelly's 399th race start. James Moffat a couple of years ago here finished 4th, his equal best career finish. So quite a few guys up and down this list have got some good success stories here. Garth Tander, a 5-time race winner at this circuit. The winner of our last race at Townsville finds himself in 19th. David Wall and Rick Kelly, 21 and 22. There's John O'Webb and Russell Ingall, who won the first ever race here back in 1999. Tim Blanchard, Wilson Security Racing, and Tony D'Alberto, the team High Flex Commodore. Scotty Pye has Michael Caruso, Norton Nissan Altima, bringing up the rear of the grid. So remember, Craig Lowndes here has all the numbers on his side. 11 race wins at this circuit, 5 straight. And he will come bounding into this one because he loves the 60-60 format as well. There's Davey Reynolds, Team Bottle forward.
We've got the field covered for you. We're on board there with Russell Ingall, now with Lee Holdsworth. They've done a very, very good job. You can follow us on Twitter today. Just a couple of questions coming in about why the Merc's going better. They've made engine developments over the last couple of months with some camshaft profiles and timings, and they're certainly going better. This is young Chaz Mostert, who's done a great job again today to qualify 13th alongside Todd Kelly. The guys just now guiding their particular drivers right up to their grid spot. That's young Scott McLaughlin on position 2. Extraordinary year for him so far.
So we've had 21 races so far. We've had 8 different winners. Jamie Whincup has won 7, Fabian Coulthard 3, Mark Winterbottom 2, Lowndes 3, Jason Bright 2 as well, Will Davison, McLaughlin and Shane Van Gisbergen on the winners list so far in 2013.
Last of the cars are gridding up there.
And that's the scenario facing Jamie Whincup at the moment. 111 points is the difference. So this championship fight is now well and truly on. Whincup and McLaughlin on the front row, staring down this main straight of Queensland Raceway for the 60-60 Super Sprint, and it's underway. Mark Winterbottom, a pretty good start from the second row of the grid. Will Davison getting aggressive with the Bottle Ford of David Reynolds. Around turn 2, so Whincup comfortable. McLaughlin slots in, Winterbottom is 3rd. Fabian Coulthard is 4th, and Lowndes in behind him. Down to turn 3.
James Courtney had a drama with a clutch on the start line. Garth Tander got a very good start. There's Lowndes down the inside. There's going to be contact.
Whoa, there was. And it's hurt Will Davison. It's hurt Fabian Coulthard. And I was surprised that Scott McLaughlin didn't get tipped up as well.
That'll put the focus at race control on that move, because that effectively becomes a pass that disadvantage others. So Lowndes will be scrutinised for that quite carefully. It might end up being one of those that has to be looked at post-race.
And it was Frosty who copped it for the Pepsi Max crew.
In fact, he's almost better to redress that, you know. I reckon he'd be better off now to park it back in behind.
The other guy that looked like he was having trouble, and there's a bit of aggravation here at this final corner. David Reynolds' car was breathing very heavily at the start before it leapt away, and then he got muscled hard by his teammate Will Davison on the run to turn 1.
So contact there with Fabian Coulthard and Todd Kelly coming onto the straight, very close there, coming off the straight. The worst start in the field was Holdsworth, who almost got drilled by Garth Tander very early on, so Holdsworth dropped back.
Rick Kelly with the left rear well in the dirt.
That is really painful for Fabian Coulthard. So remember, he started on the second row of the grid from 3rd, and he's now back in 15th.
So that serrated line to the left of the cars there on the exit of turn 3 has been moved back this year so that competitors don't contravene the rule to stay on the racetrack. They've actually made sure that the racetrack width there represents the race line.
Gee, that was close then between the teammates, Neil. This is turn 5, but at turn 4, that was so close. Winterbottom almost drilled the back of Davison's car as they turned into the first left-hander. Little slide there with the dust, so when another car in front of you pops that dust up, you're already grip limited, so you've got your foot on the throttle, the car's sliding, and all of a sudden that dust emerges under the car, and it bursts into wheel spin. We were on board then to hear that. This is Courtney's engine drama or clutch drama, there you go. A little slip. Didn't look like it hurt too badly there, but it may be slipping all the way. You can see it, that he lost a fair bit of ground. And there was that contact with a couple of the FPR cars, and Dave Reynolds pushed wide, slayed down the inside of Van Gisbergen into turn 2. And this was this move. This is controversial. On your right is Lowndes. Bang! Into Mark Winterbottom and off into the side of Fabian Coulthard. This is another replay. A little bump for McLaughlin, but those two guys were certainly disadvantaged. So there'll be some drama here. On board now with Fabian. Be lucky not to have steering damage out of that.
And he'd already grabbed first gear, Fabian, so he was kind of ready for the aggravation involved, and he drove around the outside and recovered, but it's put him down in 15th. Remember, he qualified 3rd for this race. 12 spots lost in the process. Whincup's got it nearly a second, so all that aggravation has served his cause nicely at the moment, so he's got a margin. McLaughlin, Lowndes, Courtney, Davison, Winterbottom, Reynolds, Van Gisbergen, Slade, then Alex Davison 10th.
It's 180 kilometres an hour on the Exeter there.
It's a fair shower of dirt when you start to get wide down there, and on the backside of that curbing, it digs out as the weekend progresses. Mostert and Rick Kelly. So that's 12th position those guys are battling over there at the moment. McLaughlin's got some pace. He's just beginning to respond now with quick sector times. He's coming up to the 2nd sector, and so is Lowndes as they start to stabilise their cars, get an understanding of them, adjust the anti-roll bars and find their rhythm. Lowndes is really breathing on the back of McLaughlin. Cars are pretty lively around here because there's these 2 spots at turns 3 and 6 where they really light up in 2nd gear and they're traction limited. So that means you've got more horsepower available at your right foot than you have tyre grip. So there's a lot of sliding that goes on.
On board there with Courtney, turn 2. Right up in behind Lowndes. Have a listen for the braking forces down the end here. Just got it stopped so close to the back of Craig. One of the hardest stops in Australia. It's got a big bump in the middle of that braking area, and you could hear he had to keep on feeding it gears, and that weird sort of drivetrain noise, that noise that you can hear there now, is effectively the backlash in the drivetrain when the driver feeds through into neutral into the next gear, and you use partially the engine to help stop you in those sorts of heavy braking areas.
This is the battle for 9th at the moment. Tim Slade in a cluster of 4 cars with Bright up the inside, Alex Davison outside, then Mostert and Garth Tander, the watching brief, and there's in recovery Fabian Coulthard. Now, they spoke about this at the drivers' briefing last night about straight line weaving. So race control and driving standards observer Cam McConville will be paying very careful attention to anything in the way of misbehaviour because he's threatened drivers with pit lane drive-through penalties.
There's an investigation there between 888, 5 and 14, as we said, on lap 1. Whincup's just done the fastest lap of the race with a 10.54. So remember, we're on lap 6 of 40. We stop at half-time at lap 20 and go again. These are 3 teammates. This has been pretty wild, this, from the start.
So Mark Winterbottom has got ahead of Will Davison. And now Will finds himself side by side with David Reynolds,
nice
who does a nice crisscross.
Got him.
It's not done yet. There's not much space on the exit of turn 5. Van Gisbergen wants to buy in. He could get them both as they mess around here.
See, I know there's no team elders, but all they're doing is holding each other up, and he's going to lose a spot now to Van Gisbergen. Will would have been better off then just to slide in behind Davison, and both those cars would be in front of Shane. It's fine to have them battling with each other, except when it costs the team, just like this.
Van Gisbergen had the line, had the run, and gets the position. So he splits the Pepsi Max crew in the Bottle O Ford.
This isn't over, because young Dave won't be that happy about that little rut going into turn 1.
And Alex Davison is behind David Reynolds. Down to turn 3.
Great shot. So this is up now to the only 2 left-handers on this 6-turn raceway.
And those right-hand tyres cool out in the process. So the minute you lean on the car here and in the next corner, there isn't the security and the feeling that you'd like to have, particularly in qualifying and in the early lap or laps of the race.
Don't forget, they're going to lap 20 for a half-time break, and you do not want to miss the rolling double file restart. So this is the contact with Van Gisbergen and Reynolds. Just a little bit, enough to...
Shane held him there. So there's a bit of gamesmanship there, folks. What you actually do is hold the guy out wide for as long as you can, so that when you turn it back to the corner, then you maximise your advantage. So Shane purposely turned in late, held him wide. Dave knew that he was doing it to him. That's why he turned her in and rubbed on him a little bit. But that's the gamesmanship of being parked on the outside and what the guy on the inside can effectively do with you to hurt your progress on the way into that particular corner. This is Tander, who's made pretty good progress, actually. He's got up now, this will be 7 positions. That will put him into 12th. Yep.
Started 19th, and back to a similar role for Fabian Coulthard. Not of his making, though. He started 3rd. You'll remember he's gone back to 15th, and now he's fighting for 14th in front of him. He's got a pretty good view of this, though.
There's a big chance to get up the inside at 6 after that little misstep there for Mostert in that contact.
Oh, didn't need to do that.
No, he's hooked it up on the hard cut in the shift from 3rd to 4th gear. But now he looks down the inside as predicted. But that little hook up on the gear shift cost him just enough that he couldn't get down that gap. It just gives you an idea of how finite this little battle is. And this is repeated up and down the field. You really cannot afford to make even the tiniest of mistakes with the level of competition. Run out of breath and the run into turn 1 then. And this is an exchange between Alex Premer, the Frenchman, on the outside, Todd Kelly on the inside at turn 2.
The investigation involving Craig Lowndes, Mark Winterbottom and Fabian Coulthard will now be handled post-race. So 3 wide here, down the back straight.
Oh, don't.
Oh, no.
No.
Moffat on the inside of Kelly. Alex Premer goes, I'm just going to dart right as soon as I can and get out of this mess. Todd gets hung out wide on the exit of turn 3.
Don't worry, Ingle, look at this.
Look at Russell.
This is great racing. Seriously great racing.
I want a piece of this, he says. Lee Holdsworth's in it as well. So you got James Moffat, Alex Premer, Todd Kelly, Russell Ingle and Lee Holdsworth fighting over 15th.
This was the scene of the crime for Russell in his last podium, and he's had an extraordinary run here over the years. He had a massive number of starts here. He's done very, very well. It's a place that he typically goes well at. Didn't qualify so good, but as always, he's racing well.
One of 3 drivers to have competed in every race at this circuit. Garth Tander and Craig Lowndes, the other 2.
25 of the 30 runs for him resulted in being in the top 10, so that tells you something. There's that little contact that we spoke about before, which was likely to be a bit of an incentive for those behind, but it didn't work out that way. Meantime,
Scott McLaughlin has Craig Lowndes hounding him. 1.9 seconds further up the road is our race leader, Jamie Whincup. So the Red Bull Racing Australian Commodores have got good speed in this one, but remember, Craig Lowndes will be under investigation at the completion of this race, but there's a long way to go. They're charging in the 60-60 super sprint. They've got to get to half-time first. Whincup leads the way. Coates Hire Ipswich 360 continues here. Race 22 of the championship. And this is the first half of the 60-60. So they're heading towards lap 20 for the half-time break. Jamie Whincup has a 2.2 second lead. But if you're with us earlier, you would have noted Mark Larkin's point that nobody in the 60-60 format has led at half-time and gone on to win. Good battle here between Tim Slade and Chaz Mostert. They've been trading positions over the last few laps, and Fabian Coulthard tucked in behind him in 14th.
Young Chaz probably should have tried to sneak back in behind Slade then, because he's been caught wide, and Fabian's going to get the job done down the inside. Goes a little bump too, probably didn't need to have the contact, but caught wide and now loses 2 positions.
Guys, I'm just standing up here on the pit wall watching the battles going on all the way down through the field, and it's what I really love about this track when you get into these side-by-side battles that we're seeing, particularly around turn 3. If you're on the right side there in a side-by-side battle, the design of the circuit means you're on the wrong side for turns 4 and 5. If you're on the right side there, then you're on the wrong side for turn 6. So from a driver, it's a real thinking man's circuit. You've got to really think about well in advance what you're going to be doing and where you're going to be positioning your car. Very, very important when you're being overtaken. If there's 3 or 4 cars behind you that don't get qualified a lot. Not that I know about being overtaken.
Hey, well explained, Larko, because we're on board now with Fabian Coulthard, and this is the replay down at turn 3. He got in there, but he had a little bit of contact there with wheel to wheel, which is why it was so violent, with Chaz Mostert. You can see he's caught behind Slade, a little bump, and then you can see the effect there with young Chaz.
That's his engineering group and Adam De Borre on the right who look after him, so they were worried about the effects of that. It was Fabian that we were riding with. Interestingly, and deep into the race to achieve this, a 1 minute 10.5 for Jamie Whincup on the last lap, fastest lap of the race. That normally doesn't happen with tyres after they've had a little bit of a bite out of them.
Hey guys, found a great place to take in this circuit. Have a look at this on the hill at Queensland Raceway. There are thousands of people who have come out here to enjoy it today, and they're getting the best view. They are about 10 metres from the track. Great news that the Queensland government has renewed this event for the next 3 years, along with the Gold Coast and Townsville. And obviously V8 Supercar fans have come out to say that is good news for us. They are enjoying a great race, team.
And as always, you're not too far away from the Paddock Club, are you, Chris?
Spot on, mate.
Well, this is a good run here for Mark Winterbottom because Courtney was wider than the ideal line at 2. Look at the corner exit speed that Frosty's got on him. He's tucked under the rear wing. He grabs 6th gear. He'll have a sniff down the inside. He looks. Both of them will be maxed out under brakes. Courtney holds his ground. very late braking, but he's got to be able to stop it, and he does.
I thought he had him then. I thought that Winterbottom was going to be in a position to dive down the inside, and what was very good, Neil, you made the point of James' braking performance, but he didn't cover, he didn't block, he just stayed out on the race line and broke the car as hard as he could possibly stop it. So those braking forces we've spoken of already, that was a very good piece of driving.
Larry Perkins has a saying in relation to that: the fastest way around a racetrack is on the racing line. James chose that approach then to the best defence, drive the car as hard and as fast as he can in the best possible way, and so he stayed out where he needed to, where the grip was.
So we're with you. We're looking out of the back of James Courtney's car, and we're on board also in the chair in the office with Mark Winterbottom. So this is the spot. He's got to get a run. It's easy to overrun the entry. You can see the exit there, sideways for Courtney. This will be enough this time. This will be enough. Break it. Ooh, just down there. Very good job.
You see the front brake rotors on James Courtney's car then were completely glowing red. If we saw it again in replay, you'll just get a glimpse of it in the shadows in the background. The brake force is enormous.
Some guys go back to third. You can see the position of the gear on the steering wheel there. That was second gear for Courtney at turn 4. Up to third as soon as he got out of there between 4 and 5. This is the battle with Lowndes and McLaughlin. Young Jack Perkins looks on with Gary Rogers. Young Scott.
Gary's a big fan of Jack. Yeah. He drove really well for him in the endurance races last year, and that's given him the opportunity to stay with that group this year. Gary's had a great eye for young talent for many years, given many drivers an opportunity to really spread their wings in the category.
Hey boys, I thought that overtaking manoeuvre then was really clear evidence that this business, because there's no points awarded at half-time, I'll just cruise around. And for me, that's a lot of rot. I mean, a driver, as you know, will pull his race helmet on and he will drive the car as fast as he can and pick up as many positions as he can to put himself in the best position for that restart. So anything else other than that, as far as I'm concerned, rubbish.
Oh, look, Larko, sorry, but we're gasping in the background because Jonathan Webb's got fistfuls of opposite lock here at the moment. He's being attacked by all and sundry. He's got Lee Holdsworth around him, Tim Blanchard and David Wall. These guys are in a huge battle down the order for 23rd and thereabouts, and it's a fight to the death. This is Holdsworth, exit turn 3. David Wall slots in the Wilson security car. That's one of the Brad Jones Racing entries, and he's trying to find a gap up the inside of Jonathan Webb. Jono's had an awkward weekend. He was struggling in practice 3 this morning. He hasn't had a good qualifying. Have a go at the brakes I made reference to on Courtney's car. Right at the very end, see the glowing red of those brake rotors. Big brake pressures. Pretty much the equivalent to a 100-kilo leg press, and you're not getting the benefit of doing it with both legs. You've got to do it with one.
Boys, we've got Aaron Noonan up here in the box who's keeping an eye on our Twitter feed and social media, and it's been lighting up after that turn 3 lap 1 incident involving Craig Lowndes, which cost both Mark Winterbottom and Fabian Coulthard dearly. Use the hashtag V8SC and let us know what you think, because it's now going to be dealt with post-race, and that seems to be the biggest issue for a lot of people. What do you think about it? Jump on Twitter and let us know using the hashtag V8SC.
And it goes to the deepest emotions in the sport because it goes along brand lines as well. It's a Holden v Ford scenario, so it was Winterbottom that was worst off, and then Fabian Coulthard was an unwitting victim on the outside.
Hey Matty, hashtag V8SC, here goes. I reckon he's gone. I reckon he's gone, mate. But the benefit he's got is by his team, who are the best at it, they'll put up a very strong argument. But we all know what he did there. I think he should be gone.
At the other end of the scale, Jamie Whincup's just pulling away 2.4 seconds.
His last lap wasn't quick though. He was 0.8 slower than McLaughlin. Could have been a bit of traffic in that process.
I guess, you know, is there any need? He's only got 1 lap to get to the halfway mark. And if you haven't seen a 60-60 super sprint race so far this year, do not miss the double file rolling restart. It's quite an incredible sight. 28 V8 supercars all bunched together with one man in control. And At this stage, that man will be Jamie Whincup.
Interesting how many times this fella bounces back from adversity. So the last event was the first time since Sydney 2010 that we hadn't seen a Red Bull car on a podium. It was a shocking weekend for them in Townsville. And then dig deep and look where he is. So it's not a race win, but it's not a bad spot to be.
The other thing that Larko said before, I totally agree with. You can see Mark Winterbottom trying so hard to get by Courtney, because although this doesn't constitute any points at this stage of proceedings in this 60-60 format, when you go into the restart, you're further up. So that basically got Winterbottom onto the second row with Lowndes. So that's a critical pass in a very, very critical stage of the race. It gives him a chance of winning the 60-60 in the next segment.
And let's remember that in the 3 60-60 races we've had, like I said before, nobody's converted a half-time lead. So it's only short history, but history is against Jamie Whincup. And further to your point, Crompo, he is an expert at bouncing back. He's shown it over the years, hence the reason why he's a 4-time V8 Supercar champion.
Garth Tander fans, he's come from 19th to 11th, so 8 positions for Garth, so just outside the top 10 now, right behind Jason Bright.
What's interesting is the number of drivers that at the moment are effectively debriefing. So Mark Winterbottom's on the radio constantly at the moment, just talking about what he wants for the next half of this race.
So at half-time, Whincup leads them.
Good job. Thank you, Paul. Pit exit closed.
Scott McLaughlin held his position as well. Craig Lowndes has a very big question mark hanging over his day. It won't be sorted until the end of the race. Mark Winterbottom in 4th. James Courtney also held his ground in 5th. Jason Bright making up the 10. You mentioned Garth Tander, Scafie, and that's 11th for him. And yeah, quite a bizarre weekend for Jonathan Webb. They had such a good run at Techno Autosports. Didn't have a good one in Townsville, but before that they had a whole stack of top 5 finishes and top 10 finishes, and we know that Shane Van Gisbergen has already had success this year. So here's your halftime leaderboard. 2 Holdens leading the way. Frosty is the best of the Ford bunch. Shane Van Gisbergen in at 7th. Alex Davison will restart from 9th spot. Chaz Mostert has had Tim Slade to fight with, but Slade pulled away in the end. And Fabian Coulthard essentially ended up losing 10 spots after that first lap encounter with Craig Lowndes, Scotty Pye and Maro Engel to start from 27 and 28. So it's all in the hands of this man, Jamie Whincup, our championship leader. He knows the squeeze is on. He's been bleeding points in the last few rounds. He's got a 111-point lead at a critical time in the championship. But when the restart happens, he'll have Scott McLaughlin on his side, who will have no fear.
The track's open in front of you.
There's a young Kiwi. He'd be pretty happy with that first segment.
Okay, Frank, car 9 is in the pit entry road, last car on the pit entry road.
So remember to let us know what you think using our hashtag V8SC. You can be part of the V8 Supercar conversation all weekend. And a lot of people are doing that in regards to the Craig Lowndes incident. So now it's time to catch your breath, grab a drink. Fabian Coulthard can feel mightily unlucky after that first half of the super sprint format. So we'll take a quick break. Crompo and Scafie are about to go down and get all the news for you. We'll have that straight after this, and then it'll be time for that restart. Stay with us. The Coates Hire, Ipswich 360.
Thank you.
position at the front of the grid.
Okay, thank you, safety car.
Frank to Tim.
Hey, receiving Frank.
Tim, I've given car 9 permission to change the brakes.
Thank you.
So we're in the half-time break here of the Coates Hire Ipswich 360 opener for 2013, the 60-60 race. And a lot of action in pit lane, a lot of action actually too down at SP Tools Racing. They've been given permission to change the brakes on Maro Engel's car. Let's check in with Mark Beretta down at Lockwood Racing. Brett?
Well, Matty, we saw what happened to Fabian Coulthard going from 3rd to 14th after an altercation with Craig Lowndes. Should Lowndes be penalised, Fabian?
Of course he should. No, look, to be honest, from where I was on the track, I was on the outside. I knew he bombed down the inside of me, but I couldn't see what was going to happen after that. So I haven't seen the vision, so it's very hard for me to comment. But I felt like I was a little bit of an innocent bystander on the outside of the track, having to avoid Frosty. So whatever happened between them two, I'm not 100% sure.
Fairly frustrating from where you were, though.
Yeah, look, it's always disappointing when you can qualify at the front and, you get shuffled back and it's not really your era. But, you got to cop it on the chin. This is what we do. This is racing. You have good weekends, you have bads, but, lucky there's no points for that one, so we've got to make a bit of a charge in the next.
All right, good luck for the second half.
Awesome, thanks.
Okay, that little bit of conjecture about the changing of the brake discs. Well, they are happening here on car 9, Maro Engel's car. Now, under the rules, they are allowed to change them if it's for safety reasons. And V8 Supercars has determined that the car is not stopping well. They've demonstrated that. Here we go. If we have a look at this disc, Rich, I don't know if you can come in here. You can see these slots that are on the disc. And what they do, they allow the pad to grab a little nicer. They also help release the gas that builds up between the hot pad and the disc face. And you can see there, look at the melting of the steel in between those slots. Now, that's been 1,000 degrees centigrade. If we quickly just run with me, Rich, and we'll have a look at a car that its slots are in shape. Here's the other Merc here, and you can see these slots absolutely perfect. So there is no question there is something wrong with Maro Engel's brakes. So we might just try and, well, I won't try and grab a weld, but I think that those pictures probably tell the story.
Well, Garth Tander and James Courtney just catching up and comparing notes. GT, an impressive run for you. Well done, starting from 19th and pushing forward.
Yeah, well, we spoke before the race press and it was about staying out of trouble and trying to go forward and managed to do that. So I think we start 11th for this next bit. So the 60-60, the rolling restart will be fun around here. I'm actually on the inside. I'm pretty glad to be there because I think if you're on the outside, you're in a bit of trouble.
James, how do you manage this rolling start? How different is it to what you normally do?
Yeah, the cars are crazy tight. For us, it feels really weird that we're all that condensed. And then when you nail it, it all gets pretty exciting. So into one here, because it's quite high speed, it's going to be pretty hairy. So with us being on the inside, I'm pretty happy about that. It's all my strategy, letting Winterborn pass. So,
yeah, right.
We'll see what happens.
Brilliant. Well done. Enjoyed, boys. We'll be watching.
Yeah.
Giving himself credit. A few pats on the back down at the Holden Racing team. So, coming up after the break, the half-time report from Crompo and Scafie. Stay with us. Welcome back. We see him often at V8 Supercar events. This is Matt Hall in extreme slow-mo and perfect flying conditions. We've been absolutely spoilt this weekend. We've got the FA18 Hornets above us as well from time to time. They'll be back in again tomorrow. So let's run you through the race highlights so far. Remember, Jamie Whincup started on pole for the 47th time in his career with Scott McLaughlin next to him. Now, there's a little bit of push and shove at turn 1, but nothing compared to this one. And this has got you talking on Twitter. Craig Lowndes into Mark Winterbottom and Fabian Coulthard down at turn 3. Lowndes really deep. And this will be dealt with post-race. Jonathan Webb has had a very tough run. So Whincup was comfortable from the start of this race. That's the camera down there at turn 2. David Reynolds had a real handful with his FPR stablemate Will Davison, and Shane Van Gisbergen was just ready to pounce on the inside for that one. So Van Gisbergen in car 97 is 7th, and as I mentioned, his teammate from Techno Autosports, Jono Webb's had a tough run in 23rd. Here's Tim Slade and Chaz Mostert. They had a pretty good duel, and it went on for quite a few laps. They traded places before Slade ended up with the upper hand. And Fabian Coulthard, after starting 3rd back to 15th, started to pick his way through the field, and he will start the second half of this race in 13th. So advantage Whincup in the first half, and he'll be leading them out under the double file restart. So what have our boys learnt in that little break? Let's start with you, Crompo.
Lots of things, Matty. We've been blazing up and down the pit lane trying to fill a notepad full of information, and Scapey's got some interesting stuff to go through as well. Tim Edwards was on fire about what happened down at turn 3. You just alluded a moment ago that our viewers are not happy about that, and you're talking about it on Twitter. He said it was an absolute disgrace. It was a bump and run. It shouldn't happen. I asked Frosty the same question. His heart rate was much lower. He said it's just not on, but everybody upstairs will figure it out. They're going to make some changes to that car to make it a little bit better. As far as Will Davison's concerned, they were reasonably happy with the car. They made 4 spots in finish 6th. We say that, but the race is only half over at this stage. Too much oversteer. Back of the car sliding around too much at the moment, the issue for him. As far as Davey Reynolds is concerned, position 8 for him at the halfway mark. Said he was way too kind in the early phase of the race to his teammates. I don't expect he'll be that way a little bit later on. Alex Davison saying his car wasn't rotating very well and oversteer. Looking further afield, Jason Bright really unhappy with the balance of the car, sliding around in the back of it. They're changing the shocks, the springs and the ride height of the car, changing the Chaz Mostert car from position 15 after some drive issues. And you talked before, Matty, about Jonathan Webb. I went and asked him what's going on because he's way back and he had that look on his face that you get from time to time, Scapey, in this business. He said it feels like it's out there on rotten old tyres. It's like I'm practicing. I don't even know where to start. So what did you find out about Lowndes and Red Bull?
Well, the first thing I found out was experience, your experience. You sent me all the way down to Fujitsu Racing, right down the other end, and then up to Red Bull. That was well done. Yeah, good job. So the first thing is, young Scott McLaughlin, who's very happy, Richard Holway and the guys down there at Gary Rogers, very, very pleased with his performance to run second, and there's no drama with his car at all. They're just going to leave that one alone. Whincup, they're going to leave it alone also. Craig Lowndes, he said he did not hit Winterbottom. He says it's Fabian Coulthard. So, interestingly, when we look at the replays, he said, and I looked at the front of the car, there is no witness mark on the front of it. Very interesting.
Well, that's going to keep everybody talking, Matty.
It sure has. Here's some opposing sides on Twitter. Dave Douglas says, no, it's a racing incident. Fab was just unlucky, but Katie says it should have been a penalty during the race. Black flag, very unfair. It's got him talking. The restart is coming up after this.
Pit exit closed, thank you.
a little bit snippy, or is it okay, or what? Okay, yeah, you're good. Yeah, get a bit of front brake. Before I'll let you know, the safety car is seen on turn 5. After that, you have to start the 2x2 formation, and I'll let you know when the leader accelerates in the acceleration zone.
2 minute signal, 2 minute signal, safety car lights on, but hold.
2 minutes, buddy.
Safety car lights are on.
Minute signal, safety car lights are off.
One minute signal.
Signal, 1 minute.
Seconds, 30 seconds, stand by, safety car.
30 seconds, buddy.
Car on standby.
Okay, safety car, move off, green flag, move off, green flag.
Well, there you go. The Petters STP safety car now has control of the field for the restart, so the drivers are all come back out of the sheds, back into the cars, ready for the second half.
Hey, what was funny, Matt, was in the Red Bull garage, the heavies, Adrian Burgess, Jeremy Moore, they're going, oh, I think Craig might be in a bit of trouble. And when Loudon walks in, he says, oh, I'm not in trouble. It's like a kid at school. He said, I'm not in trouble, I didn't even hit him. Have a look at the front of the car. He was all animated. It was very, very funny. Just goes to show you, doesn't it, from the vision that we had and even from the administration of the team that he drives for, you have a different view of what's actually gone on.
Well, and while you guys are running up and down pit lane doing your homework, we spoke to Fabian Coulthard, who's said to Barrett's, I kind of don't really know what happened. I mean, I know that I was a victim, but he couldn't make a call on it either.
Mind you, if we ran the truthometer over all of the drivers that we've known over, say, the last 100 incidents, how many of them have put their hands up and said, yeah, it was actually me?
Yeah, I did it, penalise me.
Yeah. I reckon it's a pretty small fraction of admission.
So remember, for the double file rolling restart, it really is a sight. What will happen is the cars will all come side by side, and when they reach the acceleration zone on the front straightaway, that is the time when Jamie Whincup basically has control of the race. He can start to accelerate any time within that zone. You'll see the two orange boards when they finally get around turn 6 onto the driver's right-hand side, and that means the entire field is under the watch of Whincup. Larko.
Yeah, Matty, and if you look over my shoulder here, I'm smack in the middle of pit lane there. They are right behind me. See about 50 metres between them. And talking to a few of the drivers, yep, they've got that left foot on the brake like a turbo, they reckon, and got the thing wound right up, ready to fire. There it is.
Acceleration zone, and that's the little area where the leader, in this case Jamie Whincup, takes his cue once the Petters STP safety car cleared the race circuit. The decision-making process falls at Jamie Whincup's feet. So it's really interesting. I love watching these restarts. Got a touch of the Friday night at the Speedway with the sprint cars. It's a real rumble watching these things all blaze down into turn 1. And it's a high-stress period, lap 1 of any race. And when you've got a restart midway through an event, it puts a lot of energy into the second half.
So a couple of things. Whincup obviously didn't change anything on his car. Tim Slade was really carrying on about the balance of his car. Way too much understeer in the slower corners. In the fast stuff, he said it was pretty good. So look for Slade to improve. He finished 12th in the first half of this. It'd be very interesting to see whether they tune that car up, because all through practice it was much faster than that result has delivered.
There's Mark Dutton, and also will be interesting to see how Mauro Engel goes. He lost 10 spots in that first half, but was given permission to change brakes, which he has done.
The other thing that I found fascinating in the guys that I got to, it was probably half a dozen to 8 different competitors, was the amount of change that's being made by some of them. You made the remark that Jamie Whincup didn't do much, and I guess that's what you do when you had a car that led the field. Gee, that's not the case with many of the others. They're throwing wholesale changes at them, and in a very small window of opportunity to make those changes. The only danger with that is that now, you know, life's a box of chocolates, you don't know what you're going to get. You're never exactly sure when they crack the throttle here precisely where it lands in setup land.
Mega War, we've got it all covered.
Car maintaining 55, no more
Race
lateral
director
weaving
Tim
or
Schenken, and now that's Mark Dutton.
Let the straight up like that. I'll
Coming
give you the
across
green flag, and then you go once you're in the zone.
To give Jamie Whincup the instructions, and this is the site. Look at that. All side by side, all tucked in close together. Winterbottom and Lowndes next to each other.
That looks like the calm before the storm, doesn't it? Little cruisy form up, and then it's all on.
Remember, nobody has won a 60-60 race while leading at half-time. There's Damien White from V8 Supercars. So they approach that acceleration zone. And the rumble.
Green for start, green for start. Green flag.
This rumble will become a roar. Whincup goes. They all try and follow. He's dropped Scott McLaughlin a bit. That was a beautiful restart from the championship leader. Jason Bright instantly went towards the left-hand side of the circuit, which is the race line, and incident-free down to turn 2 at least.
And the top 4 all dropped back into their original spots. It may not stay that way.
Dave Reynolds by Van Gisbergen.
This is where it all happened on lap 1. And again, Fabian Coulthard has hung out wide, but this time no contact with anybody. And they dip it into the dirt on the exit, up to the first of 2 left-handers, turns 4 and then 5. What a controlled start from Whincup.
Davey Reynolds finds himself with a big battle on his hands again with Will Davison. Have a go at Alex Bremer 3 wide through turn 5. Oh, problem there for Todd Kelly, gets a bump. Oh, got him.
Whoa, and there goes Wall. High speed, facing the wrong way. He's managed to get it, and beautifully too.
And off the road also John O'Webb. And David Wall was lucky he didn't clout that marshalling point on the right-hand side on the approach to turn 6, and Jonathan Webb's gone straight into the pit lane.
So that was with Todd Kelly. You saw Todd and David Wall have some drama at Townsville. A big moment there, big tank slapper for Todd Kelly at turn 1. Engel gets up the inside of him, but right out sideways. He caught it with opposite lock, then it followed the front wheels and couldn't get through turn 1 with the right trajectory.
The amount of wheel work that Todd was doing there, we could see his gloves clearly. He was frantic.
Car 19 has exited the pit.
I said to Richard Holway, why don't you give it a tune-up? It's bad for these 2 left-handers. He said, no, Scotty. It's not that bad. I don't want to change it too much. I want to leave it alone and see if I can finish in the top 3. So he was very calm about it. Well, he was very impressed with young Scott's drive.
That goes to the point of you've got to be careful sometimes with what pops out the other side of a change.
And that's Holdsworth off in the background out of turn 3. He's moved over into the little cross-link road, which brings the cars out down to turn 6. You'll see Holdsworth emerge in the back of this shot. He's just over on the infield there with a reliability problem there for Lee. Have a look at this. This is behind Garth Tander. That was on board with Fabian Coulthard.
I love how the back of the field all fans out. At the front of the field, you're right, they're just all slotted into their original spots. Trying to get out of the way of harm.
This is the Todd Kelly, David Wall incident. So that's out of turn 5, the little bump. Todd turns left. Todd might be in a bit of strife for that. The issue is once the cars get out of the corner and once they're actually straight, there should be no further contact. Look at the damage on the right-hand front there of Lee Holdsworth's car.
And Michael Caruso's in the pit lane as well. So 2 cars have pulled off and there they sit. That's one of them. He's broken the front right suspension. Here's Bright making a move on Van Gisbergen, gives him a little tap.
Judging by your half-time report, Compo, Jason Bright's changed just about everything in that car.
They were having a big tune-up.
So Mark Winterbottom with James Courtney.
Several guys also made that point about car turning right with one behaviour and turning left with another behaviour. We hear a bit of that at this racetrack as well. So Courtney's in 5th. We're looking rearward from Mark Winterbottom's Pepsi Max Falcon. It's off turn 2. The other thing that happens at this racetrack at this time of day is you can see the braking area goes in and out of dappled light. So
hard to find the marker.
A little bit hard to find the braking reference that you had in part 1 of the race.
And this is the opposite because we saw Winterbottom hounding Courtney in the previous half. Courtney's changed some things on that car clearly, and it looks stronger. Jason Bright's car, as we said before, looks better. If he gets around the outside here, he's going to try to stay on the outside. Van Gisbergen won't let him stay on the outside through 5, I wouldn't think. He doesn't.
And Bright made the point that the biggest issue that he had was not just setup. He said, I'm just paying the price for bad qualifying. He knows that track position's so vitally important in a result here. Garth Tander up the inside of Alex Davison, 3 wide with Coulthard in the weeds, rallycross style. That's going to hurt.
He had nowhere to go then. He was parked wide, he had nowhere to go. He did not know that Garth was down the inside of Davison. He only knew that there was a blue Falcon there. There's Davison now trying to do the crisscross on Tander. Tander's been very, very forceful. Moffat also has been. In fact, Moffat was forceful with his teammate in the previous half.
He's forging on nicely, though, at the moment in the Norton entry, James Moffat. So 12th, but being attacked there by Mostert. But he could end up in the top 10 the way things are unfolding here, depending on the madness in front.
Garth Tander is in the 10. Remember, he started from 19th. James Moffat started 16th.
Whincup just did the fastest lap of that race now, and lap 24, a 10.37. McLaughlin 10.46, Lowndes 10.59, Winterbottom 10.51. On board with Mostert, right up behind Davison. So as you can see, Fabian only knew that Alex Davison was there. So then when it made the grass, he had it sideways. It got that really big bump, followed the front wheels and arrowed out. So as I said, he only knew about the blue Falcon.
And you watch this bump. It spears the car towards the wall. So he's already out of control there. And it angles the car towards his left. He would have had an eyeful of the pit lane wall by this stage, thinking, uh-oh.
It also makes those tyres filthy. It takes at least a couple of laps for them to cleanse.
Here we go. So this is on board for it. So he's around the outside. He only knows about that car. He doesn't know on his right, Tander is already down the inside of Davison. So all of a sudden the road's run out. So sideways, look at the wheel work. Gets it gathered up, good bit of driving, and come right out of the throttle. That's the first thing you've got to do. It's just like going off the road in your road car. As soon as the car gets to the grass or the dirt, you've got to just contain anything you do with acceleration and give it away, and that was exactly what Fabian did. It was a good technique. This is a good battle, these guys.
And Bright's doing everything he can. He wants to be on the outside at turn 5 so that he's got the primary line when they get down to this next corner. He's trying and trying and trying to do it. He can't quite pull it off at the moment.
He's got him. He's got him.
Yeah, he has this time.
This will be enough. Stay there.
He's had to work it, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So cars 7 and 21 under investigation for that aggravation that we saw between turns 4 and 5. That's Todd Kelly and David Wall.
Oh, it's not over
because dust and dirt down there. That's not done yet, is it? Shane's done a lot of test miles around here, and he's going to argue the case. Bright didn't get off turn 2 ideally, and now Winterbottom up the inside of Lowndes.
That's up for 3rd.
This is not done either.
And this is good progress because that car was nowhere near good enough to challenge Lowndes in the previous run. And it wasn't fast enough at the start of this race because Courtney was putting pressure on Winterbottom. So that's always a good sign. When cars come on further into the race, that means their tyre consistency is improved. It's better than it was before. So he's got away from Courtney. He's now up into 3rd position. That's a good drive. And whilst these guys continue to battle, Garth Tander just makes ground on them.
Yeah, so Shane's grabbed that again. So we saw the exchange half a lap back, and it's back in that order. So now Van Gisbergen wide. Here we go with repeat cycle, right down the inside. But that problem there is that crimps him on the run into one, but he's also chasing, make sure that Garth Tander doesn't get across the road. And if we recall, those two had some aggravation in Tasmania earlier in the year, and Van Gisbergen this time drops 2 spots in that argument.
That was extraordinary. Jason Bright pushing Tander wide, and then Tander had a little look on the inside. As you mentioned, it's cost Shane Van Gisbergen. Whoa!
That was wild.
Chaz Mostert.
He won 2 of his 3 development series races here last year. Oh, that was so close to being aggravation in a straight line. Alex Davison underneath him at turn 3, got him.
Got to be a bit careful there because Chaz tried to move over and Alex maintained track position. He's doing the same stuff.
Now, this is the thing that McConville spoke about at the briefing last night. He's going to take a pretty firm view on the straight line nonsense that we're seeing. That's in his words. We'll see whether that's the case post-race or even within.
Well, you can see there Lee Holdsworth, Irwin Tools, Merck just up on the stands. Quite a bit of damage around the front of it. I saw Caruso's car just go past here. There's Ryan Madison, CEO of the Erebus Racing. Betty Clemenco, the team owner here. Lee Holdsworth, mate, you're obviously sitting here dejected, I know, mate. Quite a bit of damage on the back of Caruso's Nissan going down the pit lane. What happened there?
Passed Caruso down into turn 3, and then Fiore jammed it down the inside of us both. And Caruso obviously didn't know there was someone on the inside of me. He turned across. That turned me across into Fiore. But yeah, a bit of a dive bomb there by Fiore. So we go one.
Good luck tomorrow, buddy.
And that's 4 straight DNFs now for Lee Holdsworth after a tough weekend in Townsville. Would have started. This weekend started so well for those guys. So there's the contact. Oh, gee, that was a pretty big hit.
Well done to get that vision because that was a much bigger hit. Look at the damage on the back of Caruso's car.
So that explains why those cars came to the pit lane. Caruso, meantime, has actually gone back out. So they've fixed that and sent it back on its way just to at least get some points.
And I spoke to Lee at half-time. He was really dejected because he just said, I've qualified too badly, Scott. I'm too far back, and then you get caught up in all that drama.
And the problem for him is against the expectation of what occurred yesterday when they were very quick Friday practice. He probably went to bed last night thinking he might have been on for a decent run today.
Guys, we're seeing Mark Winterbottom move away from Craig Lowndes now and move forward and secure that 3rd spot and challenge for 2nd at the moment. And you're wondering what they did to the car. I thought I'd ask the boss, Tim Edwards. Tim, what is the mysterious thing that you did to Frosty's car during the break?
Absolutely nothing. Changed the tyres and put some fuel in it and put a bit of tape on the back where Landsy touched him up in the first race.
Keep doing it, mate. It's working.
Thanks, mate.
It is working. He was faster than the top guys ahead of him, the 2 guys ahead of him, Whincup and McLaughlin last time around. So the pace is coming to Frosty with 11 laps to go.
And he's 2.5 seconds away from the race leader, Jamie Whincup, at the moment. You can see them off in the foreground there. So that's McLaughlin, the back of the Fujitsu Holden on the run up to turn 6. It's always handy for the driver when you're chasing to be able to see the target. That little bit of extra carrot incentive works.
And McLaughlin's not letting Whincup go here. It's only half a second. You can see that gap. The whole time now, he has not let him go. He's done a really good job.
When we're on board there, you may have seen a car go into the pit lane. That was Jonathan Webb again. 2nd time in the race that he's been in the lane. He's probably going to potentially turn this into something of a test session to get on top of the gremlins they've got. Pretty weird considering how much pace they've had in the recent past. The front of Premis car caved in car number 34.
Rick Kelly's done a good job, guys. We picked up on Moffat there before, but Rick Kelly's actually got 9 positions. He is up to 13th now, so that's a very, very good performance across these 2 halves of the race. Mostert down the inside, so this deal is not done with these 2 guys. Little wheel lock for both of them. He might get up there far enough, but remember, the next corner goes left. So that will suit Alex Davison.
Chaz Mostert currently 12th. He started 13th in 8 of his 12 races in his young career. He's bettered his qualifying position. He's really got his hands full here.
He tried to do the crisscross and couldn't get it done.
Yeah, he went back to 2nd gear at turn 4, hoping to try and launch up the inside, but you can see the wheel work. He was pretty busy. It's a big period of pause where you're at 0 throttle, waiting for the nose of the car to settle through the last corner. check out from the onboard how rough it is into turn 1.
Here we go, got a Mercedes and a Nissan battling down pit straight.
And yet again, boys, last lap around, out of the top 3 drivers, Mark Winterbottom did a 1:10.3 versus Wincup's 1:10.4.
Black flag for car 47.
And that was just a matter of time, so Tim Slade with mechanical black flag.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, loose bodywork there. It's can't have that many bits hanging off it. The risk is that it gets away and gets into the crowd. There's Dean Fiore in the Dodo in car insurance entry up the inside of him, so that car will be behaving weirdly for Tim Slade now as a result of all that.
He's got to quit now because he knows he's got a black flag. The guys would have communicated with him. He doesn't need to keep on racing here with Dean because he's about to come into pit lane. Whincup has responded very, very well, guys.
Okay, so that lap, 1:10.43 for Jamie Whincup, 1:10.6 for Scott McLaughlin, 1:10.42 for Mark Winterbottom. The gap between first and second, 0.8 of a second. The gap between first and third is 1.5.
So let's come back.
An adjustable anti-roll bar blade that you can see. It's vertical there to the right-hand side of screen. It's supposed to be an alarming amount of stress and strain in that at the moment.
It's supposed to be straight.
No, it's not supposed to bend like that.
It's the device that controls the amount of roll. It's the anti-roll bar. And the piece that Neil's referring to there is what is called a knife. It's a adjustable end of the anti-roll bar, and you can turn it up one way so it's flat, so that's the softest, or turn it up the other way, and that's the hardest, and that was then bent like a banana.
On that subject, it may have been a visual illusion, but it looked like the axle was having an arc there as well. I mean, it always amazes me, the engineering in these cars, the punishment that they take, the heat, the stress, the temperatures. That shot's pretty telling. It's run for your life.
Mostert again, this 21-year-old continues to push and push hard. He's having a really good look at Shane Van Gisbergen. You've had plenty to say today on Twitter. Keep it coming. Mostly about that post-race investigation. Let us know your thoughts. They're coming through thick and fast. Hashtag V8SC.
Gee, that sun's hard through turn 2 there. It's difficult enough as a corner in the perfect circumstances, let alone when you've just got that setting sun blazing through the front window of the car.
He's going to get here. Get it pulled up, get it pulled up. Did a good job. Left the brake on, turned it in early. He might just have enough. No, he hasn't. This is going to be still quite wild as they come up to turn 4. And we'll look out for Moffat because he's right in behind and he'll try to capitalise on this.
These guys are trying to edge their way into the top 10. Alex Davison is 10th. You can see him just in the blue car in the distance. These are the next guys in this queue.
But he arrowed in there too hard then, Moffat. He tried to get into that gap, didn't he? And he ran wide. This is now touch parking at the local Safeway.
Meantime, 1.5 seconds is the margin. Whincup to McLaughlin. This is the battle that involves Van Gisbergen, Mostert, Moffat, Coulthard. Those guys are battling 11 through 14. Winterbottom is 3rd, challenging for 2nd. There's the race leader off in the distance. The problem with this is that Frosty ends up on the wrong side down here at turn 4. If you can get far enough up, you can claim your ground. That's what he's attempting to do. He's got nearly a car length clear, but of course he's got to go the long way around. There's more metres involved, so he seeks the crisscross.
He actually sent it. He sent it in there too deep then. He couldn't get it turned back, could he? He was actually going too fast at the turn-in point. So sometimes when you do that, what Neil was saying is if you do run it in there deep and turn in with them, you almost force them to give you racing room. But what he did is he headed it in so hard, he couldn't keep it on line and ran wide.
Well, Scotty McLaughlin just locked in an amazing duel at the moment, and Gary Rogers is watching on closely. Gary, you certainly have the Midas touch when it comes to discovering new drivers. This is fantastic with Scott. You effectively signed him up for another 4 years, which is great news.
Well, it's great news for the whole team, and certainly I think for Scott too. He fits us well. I mean, he bloody well drive, and he's a really decent young bloke. He works with everybody well.
You know, I just see big things with. Clearly, a lot of people will probably thinking, gee, the Volvo deal, that'll be hard, but I'm sure we'll get on top of that. So we've just got to really give it our best shot and wait and see what happens.
He's the standout for Rookie of the Year this year. What's impressed you most about him this season?
His manner. He's just the way he is. He's a very normal, well-adjusted. He's just a decent young bloke. But the beauty of that is there's plenty of decent young blokes that can't drive. I mean, he's a decent young bloke and he can drive very, very well. He's a very good thinker. Like, he thinks the race through. He's not a big psycho in the head about it, but he thinks about it, and I'm sure he makes himself accountable for his own actions, and he knows exactly when to do it and when to ease off a bit.
Well, you found another gem, Gary. Well done.
Oh, well, thank you, everybody.
And remember that success came pretty quickly to Scott McLaughlin. Victory in the 6th race of the year, the youngest ever winner of a V8 supercar race. But since then, boys, his average finish has been 17th. So he would have known that it wasn't all going to be rosy. So he's just managed to hold on, keep fighting, and now he's looking at a podium finish here. And the other youngster, the other rookie in the field, Chaz Mostert, who we've been detailing, is mixing it big time. He's lost a couple of spots, though, in that last battle while Gary was talking. Now he's behind Fabian Coulthard. So this train, led by Van Gisbergen, is 11th. And it's James Moffat, Fabian, Mostert, and Russell Ingall behind them.
This is cutthroat. These guys are at it at the moment, and emerging on top of them all at present is James Moffat there in the Norton Nissan. It's good, but this is really cutthroat. Everywhere you look, these guys are at it. There is not a millimetre left. The cars are maxed out, under brakes, mid-corner. They're crisscrossing. It's all happening.
And what a mix, young Mostert in his debut year. Right behind is Russell Ingall, one of the hardest racers in the field. Mostert was up battling with Van Gisbergen a little while ago. He was actually in front there momentarily. So pretty lively battle, and young James Moffat now, as Neil said, has just emerged out the other end of this lively fracas of those 5 cars. And Rick Kelly, who was right with Moffat, has fallen to the back of that group.
He's got a black eye, front left corner of that car. Yeah, it looks a bit worse for wear in the combat that's unfolded in the last few laps.
Remember, boys, with the Enduro Cup coming along next month or in September, just go to v8supercars.com.au, purchase a ticket to join us at Sandown, the Sandown 500, and you could be alongside Rick Kelly for a hot lap.
You analyse Mostert's performance since he joined the series in Western Australia. In the Battle of the Young Blokes, he's actually done more scoring than anybody since he joined, and he's well in this battle for 14th. But here we go, the battle for 2nd and 3rd at the moment. On board with Winterbottom, this is turn 6. He's got the blowtorch on Scott McLaughlin. This is effectively allowing Whincup to ease away at the moment, so it looks like it's going to be a nice, tidy Saturday and a great response to the difficulties in Townsville for Red Bull and for Whincup. This one's not resolved.
And what Scott's got to do is he's got to look at the spot. This is the critical one to get the exit. That was perfect. If you have a look at the little gain he just made there on Winterbottom, he got off the corner slightly better than Mark, which means that he's not vulnerable at turn 3. So he's got to find those couple of areas and ensure that, just in terms of racecraft, Davey Reynolds off the road.
From 7th, so that's really going to hurt.
In terms of racecraft, he's just got to use his head now. We heard Gary say before that he was a good, clear thinker. He'll have Richard Holway on the radio to him, guiding him through the last 3 or 4 laps. But it's very, very important for him to make sure that he just places the car right, makes nice late apexes, just like that. He got out of there well enough just to get that little gap, and that's crucial to not make him vulnerable.
Glimpse we had of Reynolds. He was in 7th, he's now 24th. Whatever happened there cost him dearly.
He was off at turn 3, wasn't he?
So 3.1 Ks to go for the first race of the weekend here at Jamie Whincup. Looks as though he's got a lock on his 8th race victory of the season. But he's going to create some history here. It'll be the first time that somebody's led at half-time in a 60-60 race and gone on with it. And look at McLaughlin continuing to play defensive on the inside of Mark Winterbottom. It will also be the first time that Jamie's won here in a Commodore. He's only had 1 success back in 2009. Team Vodafone, of course, the Ford there as Winterbottom has Here's a look on that right-hand side. Up to turn 4.
He's clinging on at the moment, McLaughlin. He's got to do everything he can because clearly at the moment Mark Winterbottom's car's quick and neither of them can afford a misstep because Lowndes is right there.
He appeared out of nowhere, Craig Lowndes. Just waited and waited and waited and pounced. But they had a tough run by their standards at Townsville Red Bull Racing Australia, but they do not stay off the podium for long. And Jamie Whincup
Great start to the weekend.
wins again
Nice ride, mate.
in the 60-60. Great job, Scott McLaughlin. He holds off Mark Winterbottom.
Thank you, mate. It's been a while since we've had one here, brother.
It sure has. 2009 was the last time for Whincup.
Go tomorrow.
Whoa, Chaz Mostert. Wow, what a disappointing end. At turn 6.
Bad luck, mate. Bad luck.
That really is disappointing.
There'll be more to that story.
And he crosses the line in 23rd.
And now I'm not on 69 wins anymore, mate.
So what's happened here?
Oh,
so Todd Kelly straight into the back of Chaz Mostert. That'll invariably be a post-race penalty for Todd Kelly, I should think. And here it is. It actually cannoned Mostert into the back of Russell Ingall. Around he goes. Lucky he didn't get T-boned. And that was the drama for David Reynolds. So I suspect he locked up in the run to turn 3 and he dropped all the way down to 24th. And that was career win number 72 for Jamie Whincup.
And remember, Craig Lowndes is under investigation for the first lap incident. We know that Todd Kelly is already under investigation for the connection with David Wall, so he could be facing a long night in the steward's room. So Tim Blanchard finishes in 16th position, so it was a good net gain from Tim Blanchard, and it would have been so much better too for Chaz Mostert. He was heading towards the top 10 or back end of the top 10, and he finds himself in 23rd. Same too for David Reynolds. Last lap. Very, very costly, but, well, you've got to say that was a typical Jamie Whincup performance. It had all the hallmarks of his career of late. Puts it on pole position, comes back after a tough weekend. He's in control of the race for the first half. Managed the restart brilliantly.
He did, yeah.
And held off not only a charging Scott McLaughlin, but he would have known too that Mark Winterbottom was coming. And in terms of the championship picture, that was critical, that one, because they were starting to put the squeeze on Whincup.
And when you're in that circumstance, Matt, you're actually going for the guy in third. You're having a battle with the guy in second. You're hoping that Winterbottom gets to McLaughlin so it takes some pressure off. And that was certainly what happened in terms of the course of the final 5 to 10 laps of the second half.
Well, with Craig Lowndes provisionally in 4th spot, it means that Jamie Whincup's put an extra 20 points on him today and stretched his championship lead out to 131. So another 2 races tomorrow, don't forget. And he's already won a 60-60 race earlier this year. It's the first time in a long time that there was no Red Bull Racing Australia car on the podium at our last round. Jamie finished with a 7th and 11th. He comes back here to Queensland Raceway and gets his 2nd victory at this circuit and stops his teammate who was on a run of 5 straight.
Good for young Scott to walk straight up and shake hands with Jamie. It's always a good rapport. Scott will be very happy with his performance.
Yeah, he's gone running off to the GRM crew.
Hey, Jamie, congratulations. As Matty White was saying, it's been 4 years since you've won here, but when you needed it most, you got it done today. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, the car was fantastic, and it's just it's great to bounce back from Townsville, where the Victorians come and stole our silverware, you know. So good to keep it back here in Queensland today, and we're just going to keep our heads down and make sure we round off a good weekend tomorrow.
Have you been thinking about the championship much over the last few weeks?
Not really. Of course, it's never good not to perform at your best. So I think that's our best speed that we've showed all year, and good fight with Scotty McLaughlin. He's the next generation coming through. So it was good stuff.
Excellent, Jamie. Well done. Enjoy that win and enjoy the podium. Scotty McLaughlin, just fantastic. And he's over with Mark Winterbottom at the moment. Boys, stay right there, Scotty. Congratulations. This is fast turning into some debut year for you.
Pretty unbelievable. It's great to get another podium, and good for GRM and all the boys. So really had a good battle there with Jamie at the end, and and Mark as well.
And good news too that you've re-signed with Gary Rogers for an extended period. You've got another 4 years there.
Yeah, it's great. You know, it's a bit of continuity, but you know, I'm just happy to get another podium for the boys, and you know, we're showing that we're keeping the ball moving and stuff like that. So I'm really happy and looking forward to it.
Scotty calls for a celebration. Enjoy it.
Cheers. Hey, Mum and Dad, this is awesome, eh?
I'd say it's pretty awesome. Frosty, you reckon it's pretty awesome too. Well done getting on the podium. You had a great duel with Craig Lowndes and then working hard on Scotty as well.
Yeah, it was, I don't know if it was a great duel. I got bumped around a bit, but that was good. The car was actually not too bad, and good battle with Scotty at the end, and he did well to hold on, so I'm rapt to see him on the podium. But good result for the team. We ended up back on the podium, and tomorrow's going to be a big day.
We sort of thought there was a big change between your first half of the race and the second half. Was there anything that stood out to you?
As in the break, or the we tuned the car in the break, so you get the 15 minutes, and the guys gave it a little tweak, and it actually felt good in that second race. But you don't know; it's only 20 laps. Do you push hard early? Do you conserve it? You know, you just got to have a go. So we improved it, but we'll tweak it again tonight.
All right, good luck. Well done, Frosty.
Thanks, mate.
Craig Lowndes, well, your winning streak here is now broken, but we don't want to dwell on that too much. Mate, a lot of conjecture, a lot of tweets flying in about that first lap incident in the first half now. Mate, I actually said you were gone because from what I saw, it looks like the contact was pretty heavy, but I know you have a different view. Let's hear it.
Oh, well, look, there's obviously two sides to every story, but, I had a good run down in front of Coulthard down into turn 3. I pulled it up. You can come and have a look at the front of the car if you like. There's no blue mark on the front of it. So my impression is that Coulthard overshot it, whether he got tagged from behind, but he had contact with Frosty, and they both went backwards. But I didn't feel anything, and I've had a look at the front of the car, and there's no mark there.
Well, you're a trustworthy guy, I believe you, so we won't look at the front of the car, mate. Second in the championship, absolutely well and truly in the hunt. It's with your teammate. You must be pleased, though, mate. You're really good form this year.
Well, we are. I think we're probably disappointed a little bit today. We had good pace last 2 years. The car of the future has mixed it up. And I think that, Jamie, although he won the race, I believe the guys are saying that he's probably not quite as happy as the car. We made a change between those two halves. We went a step forward, but, of course, you didn't fix the problem. So we struggled. But, it's today. Tomorrow's a new day, and, of course, we get on with it.
I know you'll be red hot. Good luck tomorrow, buddy.
Cheers. Thanks, man.
So time now for the podium. Jamie Whincup, of course, has been up there a long time. He's now had 107 podium finishes. But young Scott McLaughlin will be up there for just the second time. So that's the championship picture. 131 points is the spread. As we mentioned at the very top of the show, Mark Winterbottom of late is coming with a bullet at this stage of the season, up into fourth. So another 2 races to complete the Coates Hire Ipswich 360. More points on offer tomorrow. But right now, let's head up to the podium with Barrett's.
22 of our season, the Coates Hire Ipswich 360, and we congratulate our winner from Red Bull Racing Australia, Jamie Whincup. In second place from Fujitsu Racing GRM, Scott McLaughlin. And in third place for Pepsi Max Crew FBR Ford, Mark Winterbottom. Representing the winning team at Red Bull Racing Australia is Mark Dutton. Making the presentation of the third place trophy is Councillor Victor Atwood, Deputy Mayor of the City of Ipswich. Presenting to second place is Adrian Manning, Executive General Manager Queensland, from our naming rights sponsor, Coates Hire. Making the presentation to the winning team is Randy Milne, the Group Business Manager Queensland from Coca-Cola Amatil. And presenting the first place trophy to our winner, Jamie Whincup, is Ian Berry MP, member for Ipswich. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2013 V8 Supercars Coates Hire Ipswich 360 Race 22 winners.
So as Crompo said, that's the 72nd time that Jamie Whincup has now won a V8 Supercar race. 8 wins for 2013, along with another pole position to start off the day. And he has responded well.